Hi, and welcome in from Boise, Idaho, where Utah State is getting set to take on the Boise State Broncos up here in Utah State women's basketball action. Thanks for tuning into Aggie Radio this afternoon. Hope you're having a great day and enjoying your Saturday. The Utah State women's basketball team has a big one, though, up here in Boise as they take on the preseason conference favorites in Boise State, a very good team that's been on a roll as of late. So it should be a good one here between Utah State and Boise State. I'm Jaden Johnson here on the call, ready to get you ready for all of today's action. Of course, the men's basketball team taking on Boise State tonight. If you tune into Aggie Radio, you can catch that. Pregame will start at 6 o'clock, tip-off at 7 o'clock. But first things first, of course, all of the Utah State women's basketball action all season long, streamed here on Aggie Radio and AggieRadio.com. Utah State coming into this one 5-18 overall, 3-9 in Mountain West. Really have struggled on the road this season. Just 1-10 on the road, plus 0-2 in neutral games. So truly 1-12 on the road when you look at neutral games as road games, which I would consider them to be. Boise State, on the flip side, I mentioned preseason favorites to win the conference. They're 14-9 this season, 8-4 in Mountain West play, 8-5 here in this building. So they've actually been quite a bit better on the road than they have been at home. Weird but true. These two teams saw each other not long ago. They played just a couple of weeks ago in Logan. That game on the 17th. So just about 4 weeks ago. That game in Logan, Boise State won 64-42. The season low in points for Utah State in that game. Only 42 points. Just really couldn't get anything going offensively. This Boise State team, they're a fast tempo team. But at the same time as being a fast tempo team, they are a good defensive team. So look for the Utah State offense to probably make some changes from what we saw in that game. See if they come out with a little bit of a different strategy, change up the lineup at all. I know we're going to see quite a bit different defense here today than we've seen at other times this season. So should be a fun one to watch. Utah State in that game shot only 30% from the field, 23 from three-point line. Well, Boise State on the flip side shot 43% from the field and 39% from three. So, again, it was pretty one-sided down in Logan, but I really do expect it to be a little bit closer here today. Boise State coming off of a win against New Mexico, one of the bigger wins of the season for the Broncos, a 91-85 win here in Boise. Before that, they lost to the #1 team in the conference right now against UNLV. That was on the road, 77-54. But they've picked up wins over Air Force, San Jose, Utah State, San Diego State, Fresno State, UNLV earlier in the season, Colorado State. So, a very capable, very good team, which will be in the running for the conference championship once that comes up here in under a month. We're kind of in the home stretch of Mountain West play, and Utah State, at this point, sitting towards the bottom of the standings, of course, but it's really knotted up towards the bottom where a win or two here in the next few games could actually put Utah State up very close to the middle of the standings, which, when it comes conference tournament time and comes time to take a look at the seedings, is huge. If you could just get, if you can move from, say, 10th place up to 7th, that's just a remarkable difference in seeding. And really, it'll only take a game or two to do so, it appears at this point. So every game very important for the Aggies right now. And for a team that's struggled on the road, having a big performance today, win or lose, just performing well would be a very good sign for this team, especially with a little bit of an easier schedule coming up here in the near future. Of course, the next game at home against New Mexico, that's going to be brutal, really tough, a team that Utah State matches up with poorly against. But after that, it does lighten up. And you're going to hear Coach Jerry Finkbeiner talk about that here in just a moment, the scheduling and what Utah State's looking at coming up and just where they sit as a team. He still has a very good attitude, says his team has a high perspective and has really not given up this season, which I think we've seen in many games. There's games where they haven't played the full 40 minutes and they've given up big, long runs to the other teams, but they've never really given up. So we may see some other players get some more time tonight against Wyoming. Just the other day, we saw Taylor Franson come in, a freshman, get 5 rebounds, a career high in just a few minutes. I imagine we'll see the freshmen get a little bit more playing time and some bench players breaking into a little bit more time to try and spark some offense for this Utah State team, something which has really been lacking as of late. The last few games for the Aggies, against Wyoming only 46 points, against New Mexico 47 points, against Air Force only 50, against Wyoming only 44, Boise State only 42. So just a really tough offensive stretch for the Aggies, and you'll hear Coach Jerry Finkbeiner talk about that here as well. So before we get started, we got a few minutes till tip-off. Here is just a few minutes ago, sat down with Coach Jerry Finkbeiner and talked about this game. So here is that interview. All right, Coach, thanks for joining me. To start out, let's talk just a little bit about the game against Wyoming. You've talked several times throughout the season about how 40 minutes has kind of been the biggest struggle, playing a full 40. All right, Coach, Wyoming. You've talked several times throughout the season about how 40 minutes has kind of been the biggest struggle, playing a full 40. It seems like that game, the first half, a lot of energy, a lot of good stuff happening. Would you say that putting 40 minutes together, is that more of a depth thing? Is it a mentality thing?
That's a really good question, Jaden, and I don't fault the girls. I don't fault our program or our staff. I think it's still one of those things that young teams just have to learn at Division I level. It's a 40-minute game, and it's not that we don't know it. We just haven't applied it yet for a full 40-minute effort. I agree with you. I think the first half was a lot of effort, a lot of energy on the bench and the girls on the floor. Down in the halftime by 1 or 3, I forgot. It felt really good at halftime about where we're going. And that just came out in the third quarter, as you just kind of documented there, just as flat and as emotionless as one could be. I think it was 21-2 at one stretch. We didn't score until I think with 1:09 to go in the quarter, but then got 7 straight points. Really, Olivia West came through for us and cut it down to 14 going in the fourth quarter, and still thought, well, okay, here we go. We got it back, but flat again in the fourth quarter. So we seriously look at our combinations. We're seriously looking at playing time. Seriously looking at our key kids tired, but, your question there pointed towards, well, we came out right out of halftime. What happened? So it's $1 million question, but I think a lot of it's maturity. I still think a lot of it's still experience and understanding that our opponents are playing 40 minutes and we have to match that minimum.
So you've talked throughout this season as well about you feel like there's 4 really strong scorers on this team, and it seems like in all the wins, 3 or 4 of those have really contributed big time, and in the losses, it's been tough to get any of them going. Just talk about how important it is to have several players really hitting at the same time.
Well, I think good teams have 3 kids that can score, and we went the beginning of the season this year thinking we had 4, and we do in practice. We have these 4, as we talked about, Haley Bassett, Rachel Brewster, Olivia West, and who was the 4th one? Mind blind, Shannon Duffy. 4 kids that have the ability to score, and they do it in practice. But the crazy thing is, you're exactly right. In games that we've won, all 3 of these 4 have good, typical good shooting nights for good scores. But the majority of the season, 1, 2, sometimes 3 of the 4 have poor shooting nights. So it makes us question, do we have 4 scorers or do we have 1 or 2 or 3? I still don't know yet. Again, I think it's an experience thing, but it's consistency of those 4 kids offensively that hurt us from that stat.
Now, the past 3-4 games, just looking at points on the board, it seems like the team has kind of struggled offensively. And, of course, part of that is playing a really high level of competition defensively, but where do you attribute most of the offensive struggles as of late?
Oh, I think it's probably our turnovers are now within trending in a way that it's going positive. We've had several games now in the low teens. Have had 1 or 2 games even in the single digits. That's trending positively in the right direction. I think the stat that we need to really and are focusing on is rebounding on both ends. I think our offensive players are just kind of watching each other shoot, and so be it, whatever happens, as opposed to really crashing the boards by design and by effort and trying to get second chance points. So I think in the as we've move through the season or defining statistically, it's pretty simple in our regards right now. With turnovers trending positive, now it's really can really focus in on it. It's rebounding and it's free throws. We're getting consistently outshot the free throw line and out rebounding, and that points towards aggressive or lack of aggressiveness of play. So we're working on that every day in practice. We're talking about it. We're at the point of the season now with 6 games left. Is that we're walking that fragile, thin ice right now of being a fragile team versus a team that's trying to group and get ready for conference tournament in which only one team's going to win it. And that's where we got to kind of put our focus in our positive realm of despite what happens today on in the week, are we getting better in these areas, and do we have a chance to really cause some damage in the conference tournament where everybody's goals are goal set lies.
Now, it seems like you really don't get a break in conference play. I mean, you go from playing a really good New Mexico team to a very solid Wyoming team to the preseason #1 Boise State here today. Just talk about the conference as a whole and how good this conference is this season.
Well, it's really good, I think. I think it's a lot of good coaches, a lot of good players. It's a pretty athletic conference. Certain teams like Boise State shoot the ball extremely well from the 3. I think it's an underrated conference nationally because we all beat each other up. We all the bottom teams can beat the top teams. New Mexico started off 11-1 on the season, now is 5-6 in conference. So they were ahead of national. I think they were 24th or 25th at one point in the season early. So we don't women's game RPI I don't think is as scientific as the men's side, and I think our conference is grossly underrated. But with the records the way they are and the standings, it's going to be a one team. We're not going to get it at large this year, and so it's an all-out scramble first week of March in Las Vegas. But this is kind of like murderer's row for us right now. Wyoming, Boise State, New Mexico Wednesday at home. If we can survive these 3 games, survive with health and survive with confidence, then the last 4 games are a lot more kind to us with an off week in that mix. So San Jose State, Air Force, Nevada, and UNLV. So I'm looking forward to the home stretch here because I think we still have the drive within us to make something happen in March.
All right, Coach. Appreciate the time. Good luck today.
Thanks, Jaden.
All right, so that is Utah State head coach Jerry Finkbeiner with some good insight there on just the conference as a whole and where Utah State sits at this point in the season. Again, I said it before, but it's really good to, being around the team and talking to Coach to see that despite a record that doesn't look great on paper, they really have kept high hopes this season. And, the last game, before the game, I was talking to Coach Finkbeiner, and he mentioned in his pregame interview that one of his favorite teams he ever coached was the first team he ever took to the NCAA tournament back at Oral Roberts. That was a team that had a losing record in the regular season. They changed things, came up with a different defensive strategy, and then went on a run the last few games, went into the conference tournament, won every game by double figures, and went on to the NCAA tournament. Of course, they were a 16 seed, went up against a #1 seed, and that didn't work out well for them. But, you just never know. Things can turn around quickly for a basketball team when things start to click. And Utah State is changing up the defensive strategy a bit. They're a very talented team. We saw that all of last season. And if they're able to just get that little spark, you never know what could happen. So if nothing else, finishing out the season strong is definitely a very high priority, whether that means a run in the tournament or not. So we've got a starting lineups being announced right now as Boise State's is getting ready to go. Let's go ahead and read through Utah State's starting lineup. They're going to go with the same lineup as they've used for the last at least 3 games. Possibly, I'll have to check, but at least the last 3 games. With #1, sophomore guard from Mount Martha, Australia, Eliza West. #5, sophomore forward from Preston, Australia, Shannon Duffasey. #12, sophomore forward from Layton, Utah, Haley Bassett. #21, sophomore guard from Grand Prairie, Texas, Victoria Price. And #22, junior guard from Melbourne, Australia, Rachel Brewster. So sticking with the same lineup they've been using, though that's, I say starting lineup, but that's pretty fluid, or at least it has been the last few games. Deja Mason's been getting a lot of time. Lindsey Jensen, Olivia West. I mean, these are the starters, but expect a lot of different Utah State players to see time tonight. For Boise State, as they're announcing those right now, they're going to start with number 2, the senior forward from Reno, Nevada, Shaylin Shaw. Number 14, sophomore guard from Pasco, Washington, Brady Hodgins. Number 22, junior guard from Madrid, Spain, Marta Ermita. Number 21, sophomore guard from Spokane, Washington, Riley Lupfer. And number 42, sophomore forward from San Francisco, California, Ashanti Coleman. So a little bit different for Boise State here. 3 players have started every game: Ermita, Shaw, and Lupfer. That's your solid, that's your core of players. They've started every game for Boise State. Hodgins, she started the last 8. And Ashanti Coleman, she just barely got her very first start against New Mexico. In that game, though, had a season-high 33 minutes, 15 points, and 8 rebounds. So they're going to give her a second start of the season. And she may be a long-term piece in this lineup. She's a fantastic player, transferred from Arizona. And we'll see how that works out for them. This Boise State team, I've mentioned it before, they're a very a high-scoring team. They're averaging about 71.5 points per game, so an up-tempo kind of team. When Utah State played them before, though, they did hold them to 64, so quite a bit below the season average. Though Utah State, the real struggle was offensively. The Aggies, again, only scored 42 points in that game. That was the season low for Utah State. So offensively is where things are going to really need to change tonight. If they can hold them to 62 again, I think they'd be feeling, or I'm sorry, 64. They'd be feeling pretty good. But it's just coming up with 64 of your own. So we're underway, and Utah State wins the tip-off as Haley Bassett tips it back to Eliza West. Utah State will have the first possession here in Boise. Left wing, Victoria Price has it. She passes it up into the back court. Bad pass and a bad reception as she tried to get it back to Eliza West. And Eliza's outreached arm just tipped it into the back court. So just really not the kind of start you're wanting if you're Utah State. Sloppy start. Got to put that one out of your mind. But that's a very fast turnover, and Boise State has a chance for the first points here tonight. Left wing, Lupfer has it. The fantastic sophomore. She passes it in. Tries to get into the paint, and then it's stolen away by Eliza West. Kind of a sloppy paint pass down to Coleman. And both teams coming up with bad turnovers to start things out. Then the other way in the paint, Haley Bassett lays it in on the fast break opportunity. So Utah State picks up the first points in tonight's game. It's 2-0 Utah State after Haley Bassett's bucket. Lupfer has it, and she hands it back to Shaw, then over to the right wing for Hodgins. Hodgins passes it into Coleman. Coleman works her way back under the other side and is blocked by Bassett. Grabs her own board, goes up again, no good. Grabs her own rebound again, and the third time's a charm. So a good block there by Bassett, and good defense overall, but 3 tries. And Coleman picks up the first points for Boise State. It's 2-2, 8:42 to go. Liza has it. She passes it in to Bassett on the elbow. Bassett turned around, thought about the shot, instead hands it back to Eliza. Liza backs up with 10 on the shot clock. Uses a screen from Duffy, gets into the paint. Lefty is stuffed by Ashanti Coleman. And Boise State comes down with the board. Hodgins brings it across midcourt, then passes it back up top. Shaw thought about driving, instead kicks it back out to the right wing. Here's Hodgins. She's fouled by Eliza West. So a quick foul for Eliza, and the first foul of the game is called. Not on a shot or anything, though, so just on the floor, and it's going to be an inbound coming from the sideline for Boise State. Shaw inbounds it to Hodgins. Fresh shot clock after the foul. Up top, here's Luke for 3 up. No good. Rebound chased long and picked up by Shaw, so offensive board there, and then a foul. No, a timeout, I'm sorry. Whistle blew and... Okay, no, out of bounds. My apologies. I was stuck in the corner, couldn't see the call. But it's going to be an out of bounds on Boise State. Looks like they grabbed it near the corner and then just stepped out. So Utah State will pick it up on the turnover. Left wing Duffy has it, then passes over to the right wing for Eliza. Over to Price, then back up to Eliza. 15 on the shot clock. It's 2 apiece. Eliza back over to the right wing. Then back up top. 8 seconds to go. Utah State needs to hurry. Eliza uses a screen from Duffy. Gets up to the elbow. Tries to pass out. It's poked away. 2 seconds to go. Price wrangles in and shoots. What a shot Victoria Price was way out, NBA range from the wing, grabbed it with about 2 seconds on the shot clock and just heaved it up. Good presence of mind, and Utah State goes up 5-2. And then back the other way, an offensive foul called on Boise State. That's Shaylin Shaw picking up the offensive foul, and so Utah State brings it back on the third Boise State turnover of the game. Great start for the Aggies here. Let's see if they can get some offensive production again. Liza passes over to Price, then back up top to Eliza. Over to the right wing for Price, driving in, she goes up, is stuffed. Another block for Coleman, but Bassett grabs it, tries to pass it back, and it's stolen away. Hodgins steals it, 2-on-2, and the lay-in from Riley Lufer. So another sloppy pass results in another Aggie turnover, and it's 5-4 Utah State. When you play a team like Boise State, you have to be nearly flawless in every aspect of the game, and Utah State needs to tighten it up. Brewster with a beautiful pass into Duffesey down low, who lays it in. Got it over the fingertips of the defender, which freed up Duffesey for the lay-in, and Utah State goes up 7-4. Great pass there by Rachel Brewster. Brewster coming off the first scoreless game of the season for her. No points against Wyoming. Looking to have a much bigger impact tonight. She still did a lot of things off the ball, other than scoring, as she always does, but certainly weird to see a 0 in that category. Right wing three goes up for Boise State right before the shot clock expires, and Shaw can't connect, but then rebound tip back out to Lupfer. So another offensive rebound, another opportunity here for Boise State. Free throw line jumper, no good from Armida, and Bassett grabs the rebound. So Utah State going to bring it back up 7-4. 4 offensive rebounds for Boise State, and they are out-rebounding the Aggies 5-2. Pass from Eliza into Brewster, almost poked away. Another kind of a sloppy pass there. Utah State lucky to keep control of it, avoiding another turnover. Here's Eliza, 4 on the shot clock. She passes it in to Price. Price doesn't see the shot clock. She's not going to get one off. So a shot clock violation. Utah State using a lot of the clock. Last time they did it, lucked out on a long 3 bomb. This time, not so lucky, and really just kind of a sloppy offensive possession. Utah State lucky to be out in the lead right now, 7-4. Good defense so far from the Aggies, holding Boise State to just 2 of 7 from the field, while Utah State's shooting 3 of 5. So Boise State brings it across. Hodgins has it on the left wing, gets the screen from Coleman, passes it over to Lupfer, then over the right corner for Warner, who just checked in. Up top, here's Lupfer. She's going to drive, gets into the paint. Lefty off the glass is good. Beautiful drive, and uncontested in the paint. 7-6. We got a game. 1 point separates these two teams with 5 minutes to go. Price near the logo, passes over the left wing for Brewster. Brewster had a swipe taken by Lupfer. Got a little piece of her face, but no foul called. And then the steal wrangled in, passed over to the left side on the baseline, and a jumper good from Duffesey. So Aggies almost had it poked and stolen away and still turned it into points on a 10-foot jumper. And then a whistle blows the other way. It's going to be a defensive foul against Victoria Price. Price reached in, going for, as Boise State was going up for a lay-in, which is going to send Brady Hodgins to the free throw line for a couple of shots. Before that happens, though, we've got a media timeout as we are just under 5 minutes. It is 4:40 to go here in the first quarter, and Utah State leads 9-6. We'll be back in just a moment with the rest of the first quarter. All right, welcome on back to Taco Bell Arena up here in Boise, Idaho. Utah State women's basketball up on Boise State 9-6. Good start for the Aggies in this one as they're taking on the Mountain West preseason favorites to win the conference and currently lead by 3 at the first media timeout. Utah State starting things out shooting 4 of 6. The first time, I got to remind you, the first time they played Boise State, just a very, very slow offensive game. Utah State only scored 42 points the entire game. They just couldn't figure out this Boise State defense, but so far, I mean, 9 points, half a quarter in, and 67% shooting from the field while playing some solid defense, holding Boise State to 38% on 3 of 8. Boise State does have a couple of free throws, but the first roll's in and out for Brady Hodgins, the sophomore from Pasco, Washington. She's got another one coming. She's seen a really dramatically increased playing time and role on this team since last season. Knocks down the second. And so Boise State brings it back within 2. Inbound from Olivia West is well beyond the reach of Shannon Duffesey and goes right out of bounds. Boise State came with a little bit of a press, and the Aggies never even got it inbounds there. So it's going to be a turnover there and really just a little bit of an unforced one. So Boise State takes back over with a chance to tie it or take the lead. Hodgins has it. She passes back to Lupfer. Sloppy pass, though, for Boise State, and Olivia comes away with it. So Olivia threw the turnover, then forced the turnover. Spins around, tries to lay it in on the fast break. No good, though. Kind of a little bit of an off-balance lay-in. Rebound by the Broncos. They bring it back to the baseline the other way, then stop and slow it down. Hodgins has it on the right wing, guarded by Bassett. Hodgins passes up to Harold and back over to Hodgins. Dumped into Coleman. Tries to lay it in. No good in the rebound by Duffesey. Good defense down low for Utah State. Aggies outscoring the Broncos in the paint 6-4 right now. Aggies have the ball back 9-7 with 3:46 to go here in the first. Olivia passes over to Brewster. Brewster into Bassett. Bassett 15 feet out on the baseline. Steps in, then passes it back out to left wing for Duffesey. Or I'm sorry, for Brewster. Brewster works off a screen from Duffesey, gets up to the elbow, spins around, jump shot is good. Rachel Brewster picks up her first bucket of the night after a scoreless performance against New Mexico. I'm sorry, against Wyoming in the last game out. Utah State goes up 11-7. Pass over to the right wing for Lupfer. Lupfer is guarded by Gear, uses a screen from Harold to get into the paint. Puts up a lay-in, but walks before she does. Lay-in wasn't good anyway, but it's going to be a traveling violation called on Boise State and another turnover. Utah State going to get it back. Seeing some substitutions now for the Aggies. 3 subs come in on the court now. It's Eliza West, Victoria Price, Jessie Gear, Deja Mason, and Shannon Duffesey. Aggies up 11-7 with 3 minutes to go. Eliza has a screen from Duffesey, uses it, then works to the left, passes over corner 3 up. Gear. No good, and the rebound tip back to Warner. Hodgins brings it across, steps just inside the three-point line, jump shot, no good, and then the rebound was high and goes to Harrell. I think the timing of it kind of threw off Utah State. They had a couple of rebounders there, but just didn't get the right timing on the jump. And then a lay-in driven by Brady Hodgins to bring Boise State back to within 2. Boise State went 2.5 minutes before scoring that one. Utah State has it back, though. Here's Eliza. Whistle blows. That's going to be an offensive foul on the screen from Shannon Duffesey. So Utah State picks up their 3rd team foul of this quarter, and Shannon Duffesey with her first. 2:22 to go, and it's back to Boise State possession. Hodgins guarded by Eliza near midcourt, brings it across, pass in, down low, turnaround jumper, no good from Harrell, but she's fouled from about 7 feet out by Deja Mason. So Harrell gonna head to the free throw line while Deja picks up her first foul of the game. Mason checks in, and then less than a minute into her playing time tonight, picks up a quick one. Harrell only a 56% free throw shooter, but she knocks down the first. Junior from Seattle, Washington. She started 9 games this season for Boise State, averaging 4.4 points, 4.1 rebounds. Got a chance for another one here. Second shot good as well. So Harrell knocks down both and ties things up. 11 apiece, and then another. Okay, they're going to say tipped out of bounds. I thought it was another sloppy pass by Utah State, but it looks like Boise State did get a piece of it before it went out, so stays Utah State possession. Liza guarded up top by Armida. Gets just inside the three-point line. Pass over to Gear, then over to the corner for Brewster. Pass long over to the right wing for Price. Up to Eliza, then back over to Price. 10 on the shot clock. Price up top to Eliza. 7 to go. Eliza steps inside, gets up to the free throw line, works into the paint, falls off balance and lays it in off the glass. Nice drive there by Eliza. I'd love to see her drive a little bit more. She's great at it. And then back the other way, a quick lay-in by Warner. Utah State defense in the paint, kind of falling apart. Started out very good defensively in the paint, and the last few minutes, not so much. So back to tied up, this time at 13 apiece. Liza passes up top to Brewster. Brewster over to Gear on the right wing. Gets the screen from Brewster, then passes back up top to Mason. Mason with 9 on the shot clock, pass over to Price. Price uses the screen from Mason, works right, then left, pass into Mason, 2 on the shot clock, she puts it up. No good as she airballs, but before the buzzer sounds, Warner grabs the rebound. Into the paint goes Armida, who kicks it out, left corner, 3, no good from Warner, and then the rebound by Armida. So another offensive rebound for Boise State. That is their 6th offensive board of the game, and then a streaking Armida is found on the pass for the easy lay-in. Utah State gets it back. We've got 27 seconds to go, about 4 seconds between shot and game clock here in this quarter. So Utah State can have essentially the last shot of the quarter if they want it. Price has it up top. She passes over to Eliza. Utah State really using the entire shot clock on almost every possession this quarter. 6 to go, 5. Price has it on the right wing before she moves. She starts to get in, lays it. No good. Rebound fought for, grabbed by Boise State, and that's how the quarter will end. Really a nice look, though. Victoria Price just went ISO. Waited for about 3 seconds left on the shot clock before she drove and got a really good look at the lay-in. Just barely fell off the rim. But after leading for almost the entire quarter, Utah State will head into the first quarter break trailing by a couple. It's Boise State 15, Utah State 13 after 1. And Utah State shot 50% to Boise State's 43. Really a solid start for the Aggies against the Mountain West preseason favorites in Boise State. We're going to cut out to a quick break and come back in a few minutes with the second quarter of action here from Boise, Idaho. Welcome on back to Boise, Idaho, here at the Taco Bell Arena, where Utah State trails Boise State by a score of 15-13. Solid start for the Aggies. Really came out hitting on offense, doing a fantastic job offensively for the first bit of the quarter. Slowed down a little bit there towards the end. So if you're a Utah State fan, the first few minutes of this quarter should be very telling. And hopefully Utah State can regain that offensive prowess they were showing, but still only trail by 2 against a very good Boise State team. It's Bronco ball to come out of the quarter break, and then a quick 3 goes up, no good from Armida. Rebound is out off of Boise, so Utah State going to take the ball back over. So good defensive start there. Utah State contesting threes quite a bit better than we saw in the last 4 or 5 games. and really putting some pressure outside the three-point line. Driving in is Eliza, who passes over to the left corner for Deja. Mason, then back up top to Price. Price steps inside, then hands it back to Eliza to reset things. 15 on the shot clock. Eliza goes ISO, then passes it over. Up top, here's Price. Price going to try and drive, kick it over to the right corner for Brewster. Brewster up to the elbow, jumper off balance, no good. And the rebound by Coleman. Jumper up top, 3, no good from Lupfer. Rebound fought for, and then offensive board by Amundsen, who's then stuffed by Deja Mason. And Utah State comes down with the board. That brings Deja within 4 blocks of the all-time school record. Deja Mason leading the school and the Mountain West, or I'm sorry, leading the program and the Mountain West Conference this season in blocks. With 10 seconds, here's Olivia West. Gets up to the elbow, works underneath and a lay-in. Kind of a wild shot, but Olivia gets it to fall. And Utah State creating things. Good offensive start here in this quarter. 15 apiece. Offensive foul then called on Boise State. Warner got it near the elbow, backed in, knocked down an Aggie. And that's going to be a charge called on the Broncos. So Utah State going to get the ball off the turnover. That is turnover number 6 for Boise State. And Utah State shooting 7 of 14 so far this game. Let's see if they can keep that offense rolling. Six different Aggies have scored leading up to the 15 points, none of them with more than 4 points. Duffy with 4. But Utah State really spreading the ball out well, passing well. Duffy gets it into Mason over to the right corner, 3 up. Olivia West, long rebound grab by Price, who tries to go back up, puts in the lane, and then the rebound tipped out of bounds by Boise State. So Utah State will get a 3rd opportunity here. Good effort to force that. Olivia to inbound from the baseline with 28 on the shot clock. She gets it into Mason up top. Mason tries to pass it down to Duffy, and just not a very great pass, and it's stolen away by Coleman. Coleman having a great night defensively so far. Left wing Warner passes it up top, and then a travel by Coleman. Another really somewhat careless turnover by Boise State. 7th of the night. Utah State with 6 of their own. But I'm sure Coach Presnell over on the bench is just kind of pulling his hair out at this point. Because Boise State, this is very uncharacteristic of a good Boise State team. Liza passes over to left wing for Price, who is then fouled. I think that's going to go against Ermita. Yes, it is. So Marta Ermita picks up a foul. That is for her number 1, and for Boise State, the 2nd of the quarter. So Utah State inbounds from near half court into Eliza, then over to the right wing for Olivia. Back up to Eliza, 22 on the shot clock. 7:30 to go. 15 apiece. Here's Eliza guarded by Hodgins. She passes into Duffy. Duffy on the baseline. Back up top to Olivia on the right wing, who's going to drive. Lays it, no good, but rebound grab by Deja Mason, who puts it back up. Mason making her presence known down in the paint. Picks up her first bucket and her 2nd rebound of the night. Driving in is Hodgins, who hands it back out to Ermita. Ermita gets into the paint and then stolen away by Olivia West. Utah State has numbers, 2-on-1, and then whistle blows. That is a travel. Shannon Duffy had 2-on-1, tried to get to the basket and then took an extra hop. So what should have been a Utah State bucket going to result in the 8th turnover of the night for Utah State. 17-15, the Aggies lead. Pass into Coleman, who works her way around, puts in the lay-in, no good, but rebound by Shaw, who goes back up and is fouled. Utah State really wanted to travel. Coach Finkbeiner quite angry that they didn't get it. Seems like a missed call there by the officials, but it's going to send Shaylin Shaw to the free throw line. Mason with the foul. So Deja picks up her 2nd. Shaw's first free throw, good. She's a 58% free throw shooter, but does just about everything just very, very well. Preseason All Mountain West. Last season, just I mean, really, her whole career phenomenal. She has over 1,000 points, 800 rebounds, and 250 assists in her Boise State career. Second shot good as well. So tied up again at 17 this time. Boise State still, they've led for about a minute and a half of this one, but Utah State has really been the aggressor throughout the majority. Liza up top, tries to pass it in, gets it to Duffy down low. Duffy double teamed under the basket, puts up a shot, tipped back to her, goes up again, another block, this time Shaw. A lot of contact but no call, and then I think the official's going to make up for it by saying that it stays Utah State ball. Never mind, they're going to give it back to Boise State. So they originally called it Aggie ball, heard the crowd and changed their minds. So Boise State takes back over with a chance to grab the lead here. Shaw inbounds, gets it to Coleman, then back to Shaw. Utah State giving a little bit of pressure. Liza in the backcourt, but Hodgins brings it across. Pass over to Coleman on the left wing, then over left side, three up and good for Ellie Warner. Boise State finds the net from three for the first time tonight. Now 1 of 6 from the three-point line. This is a really good three-point shooting team. And typically a pretty bad three-point shooting offense, but Utah State doing a good job defending them tonight. Liza works off a screen, gets up, lays it in with the left hand. Beautiful screen from Duffy to free her up for the lay-in, and Utah State brings it back, now trailing by 1. 20-19, and then a foul called as Lupfer tried to get into the paint. It's going to be on Eliza West, just reached in. It's going to be on the floor, though, so inbound coming just from the baseline. Broncos shooting 37%, 7 of 19. Though, again, just 1 of 6 from 3. Inbound from Lupfer goes way up top, then back over to the corner for Lupfer. She passes out to Hodgins. Hodgins works her way up. All around the arc, Boise State goes. Pass almost stolen away by Duffy down low, and then a 3 from the right corner is good by Lupfer. Boise State finally getting them to fall, and that's 2 straight for the Broncos from downtown, as Lupfer, one of the greatest three-point shooters in Boise State history, knocks it down. Driving in again, Eliza tries to go up again and is stuffed this time. I like the aggressiveness. I like Eliza trying to get down low, but that one pretty easily blocked by Lupfer. It will go out of bounds off of the Broncos, though, so inbound from Utah State on the baseline. Goes into Duffy. Duffy tries to get off a shot. They're going to say she pushed off, though, before she could shoot. And so offensive foul by Shannon Duffy. Duffy picks up her second personal foul. And for Utah State, their 3rd of the quarter. Timeout called, as it's a media timeout just under 5 minutes to go. Utah State now trailing by 4, the biggest lead of the game for Boise State. It's 23-19, Bronco ball after the timeout. We'll be back in just a moment with the rest of the second quarter here on Aggie Radio, AggieRadio.com. All right, welcome on back to Utah State Women's Hoops here on Aggie Radio. Utah State up in Boise, trailing the Broncos 23-19 halfway through the second quarter. The good news for Aggie fans is Utah State starting to click on offense, breaking out of a little bit of a slump they've seen the last few games and knocking down some shots. Aggies 43% right now on 9 of 21 from the field. The bad news is Boise State appears to be waking up a little bit, playing much better defense right now the last few minutes and starting to get some shots to fall offensively. But overall, a really good game so far, back and forth Utah State, it was a good time for a media timeout to be called because I think they needed it. Boise State ball as we come out of it. Hodgins at point guard. Almost has a pass stolen away. She passes into Harrell. Back out, 3 up and good. Riley Lupfer, this is scarier for Utah State. Boise State started out 0 of 5 from 3 and has hit the last 3 3-pointers they've taken. Lupfer is just a phenomenal 3-point shooter. You don't want to let her start to hit. Double teamed is Brewster on the left wing, but she gets it up to Eliza. Back into Brewster. Just inside the 3-point line. She's going to go one-on-one. Back in. Spin around. Jumper from 10. No good. Rebound fought for and tipped out of bounds by Boise State. Good job by Victoria Price to come flying in and force that out of bounds off the Broncos. So Utah State will have another shot here. Inbound from Brewster goes up top to Duffy. Duffy hands it back to Eliza with a fresh shot clock. 26-19 Boise State. 4:07 to go. Jumper from Bassett is good. 18-footer from the wing is good. Haley Bassett, 4 points now, couple of rebounds for the sophomore. Aggies back within 5. Pass stolen away. Shannon Duffy comes flying in to steal it. Pass into the front court for Eliza, who lays it in uncontested. And right when things started to look a little bit scary for the Aggies, they come up with a quick 4 points and bring the lead back down to just 3 for Boise State. And then another steal by Eliza West, who is then fouled by Boise State's Brady Hodgins. What an effort by Eliza West. She got the ball handler, reached in, grabbed it, and then to stop the fast break, Hodgins was kind of forced to foul there. So Utah State now trails by 3 with the possession. Nice little run by the Aggies here. Liza passes over the right wing for Duffy. Duffy up to the baseline, then pass back out. Up to Bassett. Bassett knocks it down. 17 feet out. Same shot as last time from the elbow. And Utah State has gone on a beautiful 6-0 run in just 45 seconds. It's 26-25, Boise State. Aggies showing a lot of heart right now. Liza tries to pass, almost stolen away by Price. Lupfer passes it up top. 3 up, no good from Hodgins. Whistle blows. That's going to be a foul, I think, on Bassett. Yep, whistle goes on against Bassett down low. She fought for the board, reached over the top. So foul there by Utah State, but that miss for Boise State did snap a 3-for-3 shooting streak that they had. So Bronco inbound coming from the baseline. It's 26-25 Boise State. Inbound goes to Shaw, then over to the right wing for Lupfer. Lupfer resets it out up top. Long 3 outside of NBA 3-point range. No good. Rattles in and out. And then the rebound fought for and tipped back to Armida. Boise State doing a good job on the offensive boards tonight. That is number 9. And then an offensive foul called on a screen from Shaylin Shaw. So Utah State, despite giving up the offensive board, gets the ball back on a turnover from Boise State. That is 11 turnovers for the Broncos. Boise State, not a particularly good team at controlling turnovers. I mean, they average about 16.3, which ranks them 8th in the conference and 203rd in the nation. So not a great team at taking care of the ball, but tonight especially bad so far with 11 turnovers. Right corner 3 up. Duffy knocks it down. Utah State back out in the lead. What a run the Aggies are on right now. 9-0 run for Utah State. And Shannon Duffy with 7 points. Armida passes over the corner, then inside. Boise State gets it. Back up top to Armida. She hands it over to Lupfer. Lupfer guarded tightly by Price. Back over to Armida, who's going to try and drive. Pass it in. Pass to Harrell, and then stolen away by Utah State. Another steal by the Aggies. 4 turnovers for Boise State in the last 2.5 minutes. Liza going to try and drive, kick it back out up top to Price. Price up to the free throw line, going one-on-one. Isolation, stops in the paint, shoots and knocks it down. 12 feet out, Utah State on an 11-0 scoring run. Things looked scary for the Aggies. They got down by the biggest margin of the game and then stormed back with an 11-0 run. Surprised that we haven't seen a Bronco timeout. Driving in is Armida, who travels. Another Boise State turnover. 5 turnovers for the Broncos in just over 3 minutes of play. Utah State has hit 5 of their last 5. Boise State, in the last 3 minutes and 20 seconds, has turned the ball over 5 times, and Utah State is on an 11-0 run. Full court press. Utah State breaks it. They have numbers. Price drives in, puts it off the glass. No good. Offensive board by Bassett. Bassett is then fouled after the board. That's going to be a Utah State inbound, as Boise State now is just 1 away from the penalty. My apologies. That's actually number 5, so that's going to send Utah State to the free throw line, as Haley Bassett will have a couple. So team foul number 5, and Utah State with a 30-26 advantage has a couple of free throws. Bassett's first free throw, no good. Hits the front rim, then off the back of the glass. So Bassett will have one more. Shooting 62% this season. Second one up. This one's good. So Bassett now with 7 points and 3 rebounds, and the Aggies lead by 5. 12-0 run for Utah State. For the Broncos, Armida passes over to Lupfer. Whistle blows. That's going to be a foul on Victoria Price. She reached through the screen, which was set by Harrell. Officials going to see that just about every time. So Boise State going to have a couple of free throws with a chance to break this 12-0 run by Utah State. First shot no good, though. Riley Lupfer, a 94% free throw shooter, and that just kind of tells you how Boise State's night's going right now. As a 94%, 29 of 31 on the season, and she misses the first. Second one is good, though. She knocks it down, nothing but net. So Boise State brings it back within 4 points. 31-27, we got 1:05 left on the clock. Price tries to pass into the front court. She had an open player under the basket, but it's stolen away by Boise State. Excellent defense near midcourt, which turns into a bucket the other way on the lay-in by Joyce Harrell. Utah State, again, a lot of pressure in the backcourt by the Broncos. They bring it across, so it's a 2-point game. 31-29, Utah State leads. Liza passes it back to Duffy. We got 40 seconds to go in the quarter. 14 on the shot clock now. Liza, instead of going for 2 for 1, decides to hold it for later in the clock. Pass over to the corner for Brewster. Gets it back. Left wing jumper. 3 no good. Rebound tipped out by Victoria Price. So Boise State going to have possession with the last, potentially the last possession here of the half, trailing by 2. Broncos would love to tie it up or get out to a lead here before halftime. 31-29, 17 to go. Eliza gets into the backcourt, tips it, and then Victoria Price comes away with a steal, lays it up, and just didn't get it. Put too much of it off the glass. She is kicking herself for that one. Boise State grabs the rebound, brings it back the other way, and then Bassett swats it under the basket. Price gets a half-court shot. No good. What a wild finish to the half. Victoria Price just... Not sure how she missed it. She's kicking herself right now, but had just an absolutely open lay-in. Luckily for Utah State, they were able to get back defensively, stop the bucket the other way, and create somehow a half-court shot. So, after that circus of a finish to the half, Utah State leads Boise State at halftime, 31-29. Who saw this one coming? Utah State, who is 1-10 on the road, plus 0-2 in neutral site games, so truly 1-12 on the road, is up on the preseason favorite to win the Mountain West Conference. A very, very good Boise State team who enforced their will on the Aggies in Logan. Utah State this half, 31 points in the entire game against Boise State in Logan, 42. So Utah State just 10 away from matching that total. I'm sorry, 11 away. And just a solid first half. They finally got things clicking on offense. You heard Coach Finkbeiner talking before the game about how he feels like they have a handful of really great scorers on this team who just have kind of struggled to score the last few games. Well, the good news for Utah State right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different players are on the board. It's really evenly distributed. Utah State probably, one of the more promising stats when you look at it. 6 assists, really spreading it out well. Leading scores for Utah State this half, Shannon Duffy, 7 points, along with Haley Bassett, who has 7 as well. Bassett also with 4 rebounds, so a great night for Haley. Olivia West with 6, that's Eliza West with 6 points and an assist, and Victoria Price with 5. Utah State's leading scorer, Olivia West with just a couple on 1 of 4. If they can get her heated up and get going, it's going to be a whole different story, and Utah State could really pull out to a lead if Olivia West starts to hit. Deja Mason with a couple as well. For Boise State, Riley Lupfer, the phenomenal sophomore who is just a special player for Boise State. She has 11 points on 4 of 7 shooting, 2 of 5 from downtown, and a rebound. Ellie Warner with 5 points, 4 rebounds for the Broncos. Overall, as a team, Utah State shot 47% in that half, 14 of 30 from the field, and holding Boise State to 40% on 10 of 25. The Broncos also went 3 of 10 from downtown. 14 turnovers for Boise State to 9 for Utah State. And the biggest place that Utah State really needs to look at here at halftime is the rebounding battle, where the Broncos lead 18-12. Of those rebounds for Boise State, 9 of them offensive, so half their rebounds being offensive. A lot of second chance opportunities. It's resulted in 8 second chance points for the Broncos. But again, overall, solid first half of basketball, and Utah State excited to have the lead at halftime. We're going to cut out for a quick break, go to some music for those listening here on Aggie Radio, and then come back in a few minutes with the second half of action from the Taco Bell Arena here in Boise, Idaho, where Utah State leads 31-29. All right, welcome back to Boise, Idaho, where Utah State women's basketball taking on the Boise State Broncos. Great first half for Utah State as they currently lead Boise State 31-29. Teams out of the tunnel warming up for the second half, but a lot of good things we saw from this Utah State team in the first half. Most of all, just the offensive ability that this team showed. Shot 47% on 14 of 30. Which, if you've been watching this team over the last 5-6 games, that's unheard of. They've done a really good job here tonight. Seems like they're playing mentally tough. They have turned the ball over 9 times, so something they can work on. And they've been out rebounded 18-12, including giving up 9 offensive rebounds to the Broncos. But those are the biggest things they could work on. But they forced 7 steals. They have 3 blocks as well. Just really an overall pretty great effort from this Utah State team. The scary thing is that as well as they've played, they're still only up by 2 on a very good Boise State team who's very capable of doing big things and putting up big numbers. Earlier this season, this Boise State team put up 112 points against San Jose State. That was the season high for the conference, but 112 points in that game. If you don't think that this Boise State team can come out and really fire away here in the second half, you're pretty mistaken. So Utah State really needs to just hold on, keep doing what they're doing, and put the foot on the pedal, Come out strong here out of the second half. If you're a Utah State fan who watched the previous game or listened to the previous game against Wyoming, you're probably having a little bit of some scary flashbacks right now, because in that game, Utah State trailed by just 3 at half. They played a solid first half. We heard Coach Finkbeiner talk about that before the game. Really, just looked like a good team. Felt like they had a really good shot at it. And then the first about minute and a half of the second half, Wyoming came out, went on an 8-0 run. They just outscored Utah State dramatically in the third quarter. Very big effort out of the half for Wyoming, and Utah State just fell apart, So if you're Utah State, I'm sure that was probably one of the messages at halftime is we've been here, we've done this, and the last time it happened was not great. So, they got to come out. The first few minutes of this second half should be pretty indicative for Utah State as to whether they're going to be able to stay in this thing or not and have a shot at winning it. Here's the good news for Utah State. When they lead at halftime this season, 5-3. So all 5 of the team's wins, they have been leading at halftime. So they're 5-3 in games they led at half, 0-14 in games which they trailed at half. Even further, in games that they've played during the day, this is weird and maybe random and maybe no correlation here, but in games they've played during the day, 5-5. So all 5 wins coming during the day, 0-13 at night. So maybe time of day has a bigger effect than you would think. I don't know why, but Utah State picking up all of their wins in afternoon games. Probably more about scheduling than anything else. But Utah State, if I'm an Aggie fan, I'm really enthusiastic about what's happened, but cautiously optimistic about this second half, because this is a very good Boise State team. There's a reason they were picked to win the conference. There's a reason why they're sitting up towards the top of the standings right now, and they've got some firepower, especially offensively. It's not very common for this Boise State team to only score 29 points in a half. They're going to come out firing. And if Utah State can keep controlling the pace of play, keep forcing these turnovers and just taking advantage of every opportunity, playing nearly mistake-free basketball, they've got a very good shot. But again, that's a big if. And we'll see what happens. Teams coming out of the huddle as we're just about to start out the second half. I think it's Boise State ball to start the half. No, Utah State going to have the first possession here as they'll inbound from midcourt. Shannon Duffsey gets it into Eliza West, and we're underway. On the court, Duffsey, Liza, Bassett, Brewster, and Price for Utah State. Liza gets trapped near the wing, and then she got double teamed, handed it back. Good job to get out of a tough situation. Now she has it up top with 10 seconds on the shot clock. She's going to drive, get towards the paint, and then pass. Stolen away by Shaylin Shaw down low as she tried to get it under the basket. So sloppy pass results in a turnover, and then back the other way, a lay-in missed by the Broncos, but they grabbed their own board. Shaylin Shaw comes away with it, and then a steal by Victoria Price, who reached in and grabbed it away. Utah State has 3-on-1, and Brewster off the back of the backboard puts too much on it. Offensive board there by Price, who was fouled on the second chance. So Utah State comes up with a couple of free throw opportunities after missing the lay-in on a 3-and-1 opportunity. So lucky to have still a chance for some points here. Free throws coming for Victoria Price, and the foul on Shaylin Shaw, who picks up her third. First shot good from Price. Now, Shaylin Shaw, this is something to watch. 3 fouls. She fouled out against University of New Mexico, their last game, as Price knocks down the second. But Shaw fouled out against New Mexico, had really limited minutes in that game because of it, and she's already got 3 here just after the half, so something to watch for. If I'm Utah State, I'm going right at Shaw. So Boise State has it back. Aggies up 33-29 after 2 free throws from Victoria Price, who now has a total of 7 points. Whistle blows this time on Utah State. It's going to be Shannon Duffy picking one up on a screen. Caught Boise State with an elbow there, so it's going to be Shannon Duffy with her third as well. So you see Shaw pick up her third, and then Duffy does it right after. Inbound from Boise State gets in, and then it's tipped right back out by Utah State. So another Bronco inbound coming here. Shaw to inbound. She looks up, gets it over to Armida. Armida takes it over to the right wing, then gets a screen set by Coleman, passes over to the left wing for Shaw. Shaw dumps it inside to Coleman, who goes up with the right-handed shot. No good. Don't know how it didn't fall. Offensive rebound, though, is then blocked by Duffy. And Utah State coming back the other way. It's 2-on-2. Eliza puts off the glass. Too much on it. Rebound fought for. Price can't wrangle it in. And it goes to Hodgins of Boise State. Boise State going to press it back the other way. Gets it under the basket, and then a wild pass thrown back to Eliza West. Utah State now has 1-on-1. Victoria Price tries to go up, is fouled hard on the way to the back bucket, and she's going to get a couple of free throws. She was just at the line, hit 2 of 2, and she's got a couple more coming. Foul going to go against Riley Lupfer, picks up her first. So good start to the half for Utah State, outscoring the Broncos so far 2-0 this quarter with a couple of free throws. Price knocks down the first. So Victoria Price, this season 76% from the free throw line, now 3 of 3 tonight. Guess I should say this afternoon, and one more coming for the sophomore, who now has 8 points, looking for a 9th. She gets it, couple of rebounds as well for Victoria Price. So Utah State takes a 35-29 lead, biggest of the game for Utah State. Right wing, Boise State has it. They pass it over to the corner for Harrell, and then an offensive foul called on Boise State. Another turnover on Shaylin Shaw's foul, so that is a big one. Shaylin Shaw picks up her 4th. She's the glue that holds this team together. The senior leader can really do everything, and she's going to be forced to hit the bench here in just a moment with 4 fouls, 1 away from being disqualified. Price passes up to Duffy on the free throw line, then out to Eliza over the left wing for Brewster, who tries to drive, is stuffed. Rebound grab, though, by Price, who drives up, puts it up and under, no good. Rebound offensively, though, by Duffy, who puts it back up. Utah State showing some hustle, a couple of offensive boards there, not giving up, and the Aggies now lead by 8. Laying the other way, though, by Marta Ermida, brings it back to a 6-point lead. For Utah State, it's 37-31. Ermida now has 4. 7:20 to go here in the third. Brewster up top, guarded by Ermida. Ermida reaches in, forces her to pick up the dribble. She passes over to left wing for Price. Price into Bassett on the left side. Bassett goes right then left, crossover against Shaw. Gets into the paint, 3 on the shot clock. She kicks it out, right wing jumper up. Brewster, no good, long. Chased, though, by Duffy, who grabs the offensive board and puts it back up for a couple more for Utah State. 39-31, the Aggies lead. And Shannon Duffy now leading the way for the Aggies with 11 points on 5 of 6 shooting. Free throw line, Shaw has it. She hands it back out to Lupfer. Lupfer guarded by Price, who reaches around a screen. Shot up, no good from 15 for Lupfer, but the offensive board by Warner. Warner kicks it back out. Lupfer shoots a 3, unguarded, but no good. Eliza West with the rebound. Eliza brings it over, slows it down, calls her play, and a whistle. That's going to be a foul, I think, on Boise State. Saw Haley Bassett grabbing her shoulder. They haven't signaled yet. nobody really seems to know what's going on. The officials talking about it, but really seem to be unsure of why they even blew the whistle in the first place. Now they're going to say it is a foul on Boise State on Joyce Harrell. Really didn't see what happened, but Haley Bassett was grabbing her shoulder, so I mean, she must have gotten grabbed or something. But it will stay Utah State ball after the Boise State foul. That is their 4th of the quarter, so, I mean, 6:22 to go, and they're already 1 away from the bonus. Aggie's going to inbound from the baseline. Olivia West is checked in for Utah State in place of Eliza West. Olivia, kind of a quiet scoring night for the Utah State leading scorer this season. Only 2 points so far for Olivia. Making things happen off the ball. She's only played 5 minutes, though. 39-31 Utah State leads. Olivia going to try and drive, get into the paint, stop, kick it back out, way up top to Victoria Price. With 15 seconds, Price has it. She has it poked away, but grabs it before it can be taken by Boise. She's going to drive up, get it up to the block, put it off the glass, too much on it. Victoria Price kind of struggling on the drive tonight. A long pass into the front court, wild by Boise State. Harrell turns it over as she can't wrangle in the pass. And so Utah State going to get it back. Lufer fouls after Utah State comes away with the steal. So Lufer picks up her second. And Utah State already heading to the free throw line. We've got 5:53 to go here in the quarter. And every foul from here on out that Boise State commits is going to send the Aggies to the free throw line. Right now, sending Utah State's top free throw shooter in Rachel Brewster for a couple. So not a good situation to be in if you're Boise State. I mean, one being in that sort of a foul situation where every foul is going to send the Aggies to the line, and then two, having one of your star players in Shaylin Shaw really committed to the bench for the next quarter and a half with 4 fouls. First shot is good from Brewster, and the second one is good as well. So Rachel Brewster, who's shooting 87% this season, knocks down 2 of 2, and one of the top free throw shooters in the conference right now. Coleman has it. She hands it back to Warner. Warner over to Lupfer, then back up top to Warner, who steps back. It's guarded by Brewster. Foul on Rachel Brewster. Looks like Warner went to drive, and Brewster just got her arm in there a little bit. So foul called. That will be for Rachel Brewster, just her first, and Utah State with just their second this quarter. Boise State inbounds with a fresh shot clock. Armida pass into Harrell. Harrell hands it back to Lupfer. Lupfer over to the right wing. Here's Warner. She's going to try and drive. Double teamed in the paint. Puts it up with the lefty. No good. Rebound by Rachel Brewster, and another foul called. Rachel Brewster is going to head to the free throw line again. And then the official points the other way. So the official changes his mind. They're going to say this is on Deja Mason. That's about the 4th or 5th time tonight we've seen the officials just blow a whistle, call it one way, and then change their mind and call it the other. So big swing of momentum there, and it will stay Boise State ball. And then driving in is Armida, who is fouled by Utah State. That's going to be Rachel Brewster picking up another. So really a weird swing there. That's going to be costly for Utah State. Not entirely sure exactly where the first foul came from, but it's going to cost him a second one as well on a couple of free throws as Armida heads to the line. She knocks down the first. Coach Finkbeiner arguing that she wasn't even in the shooting motion, which may be true. Second one from Armida good as well. So what was originally called as Utah State ball results in a couple points for Boise State. 41-33, the Aggie lead. Inbound goes to Deja Mason, who is then called with an offensive foul. Boise State got into the back court, gave a lot of full court pressure, and Deja Mason hit the defender with an elbow, so that's another turnover on Utah State, and just like that, now Utah State with 5 team fouls. Officials are huddling up. I don't know, it's been somewhat inconsistent here, so they're going to talk it over. Team's going to head back to the bench and use this essentially as a timeout, as the officials, I think, are going to go take a look at the monitor, it looks like. As it stands, it's 41-33 Utah State. And with that foul on Utah State, it would send the Broncos to the free throw line if it stands. Not sure what they're looking at or why, but anyway. Aggies lead by 8. Leading scorers for Utah State right now, Shannon Duffy has 11 points, 5 of 6 shooting. She's also got 3 rebounds and a couple of assists. Then for Boise State, Lupfer with 11 and a rebound as well. 4 of 9 shooting for Riley Lupfer. Other players for Utah State, Victoria Price had 9 points, 3 rebounds. And then Haley Bassett was 7 points, 3 of 3 shooting on 4 rebounds as well. So really spreading the ball around. Every player that's seen the floor tonight for Utah State has scored, outside of Jessie Gear. She's only played 5 minutes though. But every Aggie really getting involved right now. So yeah, they are looking at the replay right now. Looks like Utah State wants to make a substitution. They're going to be forced to wait for just a minute till this is resolved. But Aggies shooting 42% on the game, 16 of 38, and they've outscored Boise State 10-4 this half. Brilliant start to the half, brilliant close to the half in the second half. Utah State at one point got down by 8 points, stormed back the other way, and really did a fantastic job to keep themselves in it and eventually take the lead at halftime. Went on an 11-0 run, and it's just been a very resilient effort by this Utah State team here tonight. So, looks like after all that, it is going to be Boise State ball. They inbound, though. It's not a free throw situation. Now, from here on out, it will be, though, if Utah State is to foul again. So both teams already in the bonus with over half of the quarter to go. Boise State with it in play. Lupfer almost loses control of the dribble, and then Victoria Price picks up a foul. Price saw the ball come loose, saw the dribble get messed up, and so she tried to take advantage. But Utah State went from 2 fouls to sending Boise State to the free throw line in just a matter of about a minute and a half. Lupfer going to have a couple of shots, and the first one is good. So Riley Lupfer, the sophomore from Spokane, Washington. She was on the All-Mountain West freshman team last season. Since Mountain West play started, she's averaging over 20 points per game. She knocks down the second as well, so now 13 tonight. She has just been phenomenal since the start of Mountain West play, really all season, but especially then. Utah State gets a long pass. They break. This is Utah State kind of falling apart. They break through the full court press, throw it long into the front court for Haley Bassett, who had an open lane but walked. So another turnover by the Aggies. Now 12 turnovers for Utah State, and that one could be costly. I mean, they have a 6-point lead, could have jumped that up to an 8-point lead before the media timeout. But whistle blows, and with 4:57 to go, Utah State leads 41-35. They're going to really hope that some of these things don't come back to bite them here at the end. We're going to cut out to a quick break for the timeout and come back in just a moment with the rest of the third quarter here on Aggie Radio and AggieRadio.com. All right, we're back at it. Utah State leading the Boise State Broncos 41-35. Utah State in the entire first game against Boise State scored 42 earlier this season, just about 3 weeks ago, and 1 point away from matching that here as we've got 4:57 to go in the third quarter. Little bit of a Boise State run, a lot of Utah State just mental errors and turnovers here in the last few minutes, so we'll see if they're able to clean it up, but overall, Utah State looking good right now. Boise State has it as we come out of the timeout. Harrell hands it back to Lupfer. Lupfer guarded by Bassett, works off a screen, now guarded by Price. Passes over to left wing. Here's Warner. She's going to get up top, try and drive, shoots from the elbow. No good, but she's fouled. Lot of fouls being called here the last few minutes. Refs are really, really whistle happy this half. And Utah State going to send a good free throw shooter in Ellie Warner to the free throw line. Warner's first, up and good. So Ellie Warner, the sophomore from Sammamish, Washington, now with 7 points. Duffy checks in, Price checks out for the Aggies. Second one up and no good for Warner. Rebound tipped out by Boise State, and so Utah State will get it up 41-36. Aggies really didn't box out well on that at all, but luckily for them, Boise State tipped it out of bounds, kind of bailed them out there. So Aggies break the press, bring it across midcourt. Eliza has it, she passes up to Duffy. Duffy on the right wing, fakes out, Lutfer, then passes it back to Olivia. Olivia up top to Eliza, 14 on the shot clock. Eliza kicks over left corner for Brewster, then back up to Eliza on the left wing, hands it over to Duffy. Right wing, here's Olivia, long three with the shot clock expiring, goes long and out of bounds off of the Aggies. Not the shot you're probably looking for there. That was an NBA range three from Olivia West, who is now 1 of 5 from the field. Boise State brings it across as Olivia West hits the floor going for the steal. They get the numbers advantage, and the pass into Coleman is laid in. And so Boise State on a 7-0 run. Utah State hasn't hit a shot from the field in 4 minutes and 17 seconds. Eliza going to try and drive and break that streak, and she does. Nice little lay-in. Eliza being really aggressive tonight on offense and doing a good job at penetrating the rim. Stolen the other way by Olivia, but she can't contain it, so it goes out of bounds off of the Aggies. It will stay Boise State possession. But again, Eliza, 8 points, 4 of 7 from the field tonight. And I think that's kind of a spark that this Utah State offense needs. So inbound by Boise State goes into Warner. Warner gets up to the free throw line, steps back, hands it over to Harrell, who kicks it over to the right wing for Lutfer, and another whistle on Eliza West. That is going to be her third, and another free throw opportunity coming for Boise State. I mean, a lot of whistles this quarter. Some of them certainly deserved, but the officials, looks like the officials go to put the wrong player on the free throw line, according to the Utah State bench. They thought the foul should have sent Joyce Harrell to the free throw line. Right now, though, they have Riley Lutfer, a significantly better free throw shooter on the line. I'm not sure who it should have been, but the Utah State bench certainly disagrees. Regardless, Lutfer knocks down the first shot. She's a 94% free throw shooter. Now 2 of 3 tonight. Second one good as well. So Boise State on a little bit of a run, and it's 43-40 for the Aggies. Utah State needs some points here offensively. Eliza has it. She passes over to Brewster on the left wing. Back to Eliza. Eliza picks up the dribble. Screened by Duffy. She's going to pass it over to the right wing for Bassett. Bassett over the corner. Olivia West shoots a three, but is blocked. Blocked by Joyce Harrell. Aggies hurting back on defense. Good job to get back, but a right three up and good. Riley Lutfer knocks it down. Boise State on a run. Aggies really did a good job getting back after the block three, but Riley Lutfer, what a shooter. 85 threes before this game, so go ahead and tack on 3 to that, 88 threes. She has the program record for threes in the season with still a handful of games left. Eliza tries to drive in, she kicks it out, right wing jumper from Bassett just inside the line. No good, but the offensive board by Duffy, who puts it back up and can't hit on the second shot. Rebound by Boise State. They're coming back the other way. Broncos have it tied. A 3 up, and Lutfer knocks it down. I think Utah State needs a timeout. Don't know if they're going to call it, but they have really lost all of the momentum. 15-2 run for Boise State. Liza goes driving into the paint, kicks it out to the right wing for Brewster. Brewster steps back, passes over to Olivia. Broncos have the lead for the first time in a while. Olivia West passes into Bassett. Bassett going to drive, gets into the paint, and is fouled. No, they're going to say offensive foul. I do not know if I saw that. And then a timeout by Utah State. That seems pretty ticky-tack there. I don't know how they call that an offensive foul. There was a lot of contact on the wrist of Haley Bassett, but that will be so Utah State calls a timeout, trailing 46-43, and that may be a very costly one. The thing for Utah State that's so frustrating is after playing such a good game, a lot of things have started to work against them now. Those things being, one, obviously they're not playing quite as well. Two, the whistle just very, very much not going in their favor in any way, shape, or form. And three, Boise State starting to take advantage. They're really hitting, and they're taking advantage of some opportunities that they weren't in the first half and in the first part of this quarter. So if you're Utah State, you just need to regroup. You need to say, look, we have played phenomenal basketball. We've played some of the best basketball of the season for the first 2.5 quarters of this one. Things have started to fall apart, partially on our own doing, partially because of things we can't control. But, if they can come out of this timeout and still get back on track, get things firing again, it's a 3-point game. We still got a quarter and a couple of minutes to go, and it's a 3-point game. So you got to look at it through that glass and through that perspective. But as it sits, 46-43 with 1:38 to go. I'm almost surprised Coach Finkbeiner didn't get tossed didn't get a technical after the last call. He was so fired up, so infuriated, and I understand why. That last call, especially after all that has happened to Utah State this quarter, they pick up their 8th team foul on a pretty ticky-tack shot like that. I don't know. So we'll see if they can regroup from that. You got to put it out of your mind. Say, we're not playing the officials, we're playing the other team, and see if you can move past it. Riley Lufer, I mentioned a few minutes ago, she's averaging 20 points per game in Mountain West play. Well, she's already got 21 tonight with more than a quarter to go. She's averaging 16.3 on the season, and that's only because the first few games of the season she started out slow. The first 10 or so games, it was much lower. But since conference play started, over 20 per game. So about to come back out. Players off the bench, and it will be Boise State ball. Inbound coming. Pass goes into Armida, who brings it across midcourt despite a little bit of Utah State pressure. Warner has it. She passes it into Armida. Armida going to drive up the baseline, lay it in, and Utah State fell apart on defense there. 17-2 run for Boise State. Back the other way, Olivia tries to get in. Finally, a foul goes the other way. Boise State picks one up, and that's going to send Olivia West to the free throw line. Foul goes against Ashanti Coleman. So first shot by Olivia West, good. Coach Gordy Presnell going to talk to the officials. He disagrees with that call, but after everything that's gone their way this quarter, I don't know how you could disagree too adamantly. So the first shot brings Utah State back within 4. Olivia has one more coming. 76% free throw shooter. She's got 3 points tonight. Second one, in and out, no good, and the rebound by Warner. Just over a minute to go in this quarter. Warner steps over to the right, hands it over to Armida. Armida works off a screen, steps back behind the three-point line, then inside, passes up top to Coleman. Coleman over the left wing. Here's Lufer. Lufer off a screen, going to get into the paint, lay it in. Too much on it. Rebound, though, by Coleman. She put it high off the glass, never hit the bucket. So a forced three from the corner is airballed and no good. Heads up by Boise State to realize it didn't hit the bucket, but they tried to kick it out outside the three-point line instead of probably just going straight back up with it, which they should have done. So that's going to be a turnover from the Broncos as they can't get it off before the shot clock expires. So Utah State with it, 36 seconds to go. Got about 12 seconds between the shot and the game clock. Price has it, guarded by Armida. She gets double teamed now, picked up, kicks it over, finds Bassett on the baseline. Bassett up to Duffy up top to Eliza, then over to Olivia on the left wing. She's going to drive, get inside towards the paint. No good, but grabs her own board. Puts it back up. This time it goes. Heads up, and a good effort by Olivia West to gain her 5th point of the night. Boise State with it. 7 seconds to go. Driving in. Here goes Ermita. She lays it in as time runs down. Inbound to Eliza. She has to shoot. She's not even going to get a shot off before the clock expires. Utah State just really softening up under the basket big time. Not the same effort that we saw. You see some heads hanging a little bit low as they head into the quarter, but if you're Coach Finkbeiner, the number one thing you need to be doing right now is getting those heads back up, because, look, you're trailing by 4 points on the road to the possibly the best team in the conference. You've still got a real good shot at this. You played some solid basketball all night. You've led for 16 minutes to Boise State's 7.5. So, I mean, it's still anybody's game if Utah State can come out firing. But that's going to be a big indicator. We're going to cut out for a quarter break and come back with the 4th quarter. Thanks for tuning in to Utah State Women's Hoops here on Aggie Radio, AggieRadio.com. And welcome on back to the Taco Bell Arena up here in Boise, Idaho. Utah State taking on the Boise State Broncos in trail right now, 50-46 with a quarter left to play. Boise State ball as we come out of the quarter break. For Boise State, Armida has it. She passes up to Lupfer, who uses a screen from Harrell. Passes it back over to Coleman on the left wing. She's going to try and drive, gets into the paint, puts it up. No good, grabs her own board, though. Second shot is good. So Ashanti Coleman coming off of a career night against New Mexico, now with 4 points on the night, 7 rebounds, though, for the sophomore. First offensive possession for Utah State, and a quick timeout called as Eliza got trapped near the wing. So Coach Finkbeiner calls from the bench a timeout. Probably wise. You know, you don't want to give up a turnover in that situation, but just a very early turnover timeout, just 33 seconds here into the half, or into the quarter, I'm sorry. But Utah State trails by 6. We saw in the end of the second half, I guess midway through the second quarter, Utah State got down by 7 or 8 points. And Boise State had been on a really nice run. Things looked to be at that point of the game where typically you see the Aggies kind of fall apart. You know, seen that story too many times this season. But instead, Utah State went on an explosive run, closed things out on an 11-0 run before a few points went to Boise State before the halftime break. So Utah State, I mean, they really fought back from adversity. They took the lead and held on to it for a very long time. Of course, Boise State just took it back. But if you're Utah State, you got to say, look, we've done this before. We've been in this situation. We were down 6+ in the first half, and then we came out and we've led for now over 16 minutes of the game. If they can come out of this timeout, get things back on track, it's going to be a big, big sign for this team. You know, if nothing else, in this game they've played really, really good basketball, and they've shown that this is the kind of team that could go on a late season run. This is the kind of team that could pull it together. They've got the talent. They've got they lack experience, and they lack a little bit of the X factor, I think, this season. But they've got the talent, and if they just pull it together, could be a special team. So coming out of the quarter break, or out of the timeout break, I'm sorry, Utah State to inbound. They'll have 18 seconds on the shot clock once they get it inbounding from the front court. Duffy inbounds, and Eliza has it. Eliza with 13 on the shot clock. Pass over to Bassett. Bassett on the right wing, over the left wing for Olivia. 3 up. In and out. Rebound, though, offensively by Duffy, who passes it back out to Eliza. She's going to drive, kick it over. Right jumper from Bassett. Can't hit from 15. She's been hitting that all night, but can't this time. And then the rebound by Boise State. A good couple of looks there by the Aggies. Really, I mean, 2 open, beautifully created shots. Sometimes they just don't fall. Driving up is Ermita, who's fouled. She got up a shot, knocked it down, but they're going to say the foul before the shot on Haley Bassett. So Bassett picks up her second personal, and that is the first team foul for Utah State this quarter. Inbound for Lupfer. She gets it in, hands it back to Lupfer. Pass back to Coleman, who's going to drive. Got an open lane. Couple of screens set up top. Got the Aggies thrown off. And Boise State extends their lead. Now up to 8. 54-46. Liza's going to drive. Got caught off balance. Got fouled on the way in. And so that's going to go against Boise State's Shaylin Shaw. No, I'm sorry. That's going to go against Ashanti Coleman. 2 free throws coming as Eliza West heads to the line. First one bounces up, hits the back of the rim and the backboard, and then falls. So Utah State pulls it back. Now trails 54-47. One more coming for Eliza. Olivia West and Haley Bassett check out. On the floor now, Deja Mason. Second shot, no good. Coleman comes down with it. On the floor, Mason, Duffy, Eliza, Price, and Brewster. So Ermita has it, passes over, gets Harrell. Harrell hands it back to Warner. Warner up to the elbow, steps back. 10 on the shot clock. Boise State needs to hurry. Ermita with 7 seconds. Shoots up. 3 is good. Worked off a screen. Got a somewhat contested, but a nice look. And Ermita knocks it down. Boise State now 6 of 15 from the three-point line. Starting to warm up. Horrible start, but they've started to click from deep lately. Liza has it. She gets over to the right wing. 10 on the shot clock. She passes out to Price on the left wing. Price up to the elbow, stops, kicks it back out. Liza pump fakes, passes out up top to Brewster. Brewster with 2 on the shot clock, gets in just towards the paint. Shoots, no good from 15, and the rebound by the Broncos. Aggies, you get the point that they're, you get the feeling that they're sort of running out of gas now, trailing by 10. Ermita works off a screen from Coleman, then passes over to the right wing for Lupfer. Lupfer off a screen from Coleman again. Up to the free throw line, jumper from 15, rolls in and out, and Deja Mason with the board. Here's Eliza. Utah State trailing by 10. We got 7:08 on the clock. She passes over to Brewster. Utah State really needs some points here quickly. Up shot from Duffy, stuffed. Grabs her own board, though, on the block. Kicks it out up top to Eliza. Eliza going to hand it back to Duffy up top. She hands it back over to Eliza. Screen set by Duffy. Get her into the paint. Pass down low to Mason, who is then fouled by Riley Lupfer. Mason, don't know if she was trying to go up or pass it out, but arms were coming up while she was fouled. I think they're going to say on the floor.
Back on the floor for Boise State, Shea Shaw, Brady Hutchins, and Olivia West.
Yeah, we'll be on the floor. So Lupfer picks up her 3rd personal foul. Shaw checks back in for the first time in a while. She's got 4 personal fouls, so 1 more and Shaw will be out. We'll see if Utah State tries to drive it at her. Price on the right wing. 20 on the shot clock. Passes over to Brewster. Brewster over to Olivia. Olivia gets a screen from Duffy. He's going to get her up towards the block. Spins around, shoots, and is fouled on the shot. So free throws coming for Olivia West as Brady Hodgins picks one up. That's now the 3rd team foul for Boise State and the 2nd for Hodges. First shot up and good. Olivia knocks down the first to bring them back within 9. Olivia West now 2 of 3 from the free throw line tonight. Second shot good as well, so now 7 points for the sophomore, who leads Utah State in scoring this season. Olivia averaging 12.1 points per game. Armida hands it up to Shaw. Shaw back to Hodgins. Hodgins over to a driving Coleman. Coleman goes up and is blocked by Deja Mason. Mason now 3 blocks away from the school record in blocks in her career. Great defense there. That could spark Utah State a couple of points here, and they're back within 6. Coach Finkbeiner realizes the magnitude of what this possession could be, so he calls a timeout. And with 5:58 to go here in the half, the Aggies head back to the huddle with an 8-point deficit ahead of them. We're going to cut out to a quick break and come back in just a moment from here at the Taco Bell Arena in Boise, Idaho. All right, welcome back to Utah State Women's Hoops here on Aggie Radio. Quick timeout called, and the players back on the court. Utah State trailing right now 57-49. Aggies with the balls. They come out inbound from Olivia West into Duffesy, who hands it back to Olivia West. 15 on the shot clock for the Aggies here. Price has it up top. She passes over to the right wing for Olivia, who's going to try and drive. Gets up to the block, stops, goes up and under. Beautiful lay-in and the foul. Olivia West heading to the free throw line for one more. She just went there, hit 2 of 2, and now a foul on Marta Ermida is going to give a 3-point play opportunity. Utah State could be putting together a little bit of a run here, and now trailing 57-51. Free throw missed, and a lane violation called on Utah State, so it wouldn't have mattered if it went in anyway. Aggies were just trailing by 10, now trailing by 6. Boise State hasn't scored in 2.5 minutes. Defensive stop and then a bucket the other way would be big for Utah State here. And a turnover by the Broncos. Hodgins got it. She walked before she dribbled, and so a careless turnover, and that's much of what we saw in the first half. Boise State really, I mean, they've taken much better care of the ball this half. Only 5 turnovers this half, but 19 on the game. So that's really where the gap is closed. But Boise State turns it over there. Pass goes into Brewster, who tries to lay it in, comes up short on the lay-in. Was driving up the baseline, kind of fell off balance. Boise State with the board. That could have been a big bucket for Utah State there. 5:07 to go. Here's Ermida. She works off a screen from Shaw, gets into the paint, and is fouled on the way up. So a couple shots coming for Marta Ermida. It's going to go against Victoria Price. So Price picks up her 4th, 1 away from fouling out, as is Deja Mason. Mason with 4 fouls in just 10 minutes. Price with 4 in 30. So Ermida heading to the free throw line. 69% free throw shooter on the season, 1 of 2 tonight. I'm sorry, 2 of 2 tonight. First one, no good. It's the back of the rim. So one more coming. Ermida second on the team tonight in scoring 13 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Great all-around game. Knocks down the second. She had the 2nd triple-double in program history earlier this season. Utah State breaks a full-court press, brings it across midcourt. It's 58-51, the Aggies trail. Aggies really need to score on the vast majority of their possessions right from here on out. Brewster passes up top to Price, then over to the right wing for Olivia. Olivia over to the left wing for Brewster. Double team, so she passes it back up top to Olivia. 5 on the shot clock. She gets up. Free throw line. Wild shot thrown off the backboard. Don't know if she called bank, but that's going to count on the scoreboard. 58-53. Aggies back to within 5 after trailing 10 just a moment ago. Crossover knocks down Olivia West. Frees up Ermida, who kicks it over to the right. Utah State recovered defensively, though, and Hodgins has to dribble it back. Hodgins passes up to Lupfer, guarded tightly by Price. Works off a screen, gets up towards the block, kicks it over. Wide open 3, no good from Ermida, but the offensive rebound then stolen away by Olivia West. Olivia going to try and drive, gets up towards the paint, passes it back out. Ball hits the floor, 2 players hit the floor with it, and jump ball is called, which will stay Utah State's way. So a bit of a break there on a wild pass out. Could have been a turnover essentially, but it's going to stay Aggie ball. You see back the other way the impact that Riley Lufer has. She drove for Boise State, drew 3 players in with her, which created a wide open shot. Aggie's lucky to have a miss there by the Broncos. But Utah State has it, trailing by 5. Brewster jumper, 10 feet out, knocks it down. Utah State back within 3. We've got ourselves a game, 58-55. Rachel Brewster now 6 points. Here's Hodgins. Pass up to Lufer. Lufer off a screen, long 3, up and good. What a dagger. Riley Lufer has ice in her veins and 24 points. 7 of 15, 5 of 10 from 3. Working in is Price, kicks it over, finds Brewster on the elbow. Brewster tries to pass it back out to Duffy, and that is a bad turnover for Utah State. I mean, there's no other way to say that. They get back within 6, have the ball, can cut that lead down, and then just a bad pass goes into the backcourt. So they turn the ball over for the 14th time tonight, and Boise State, a bucket would be huge for the Broncos right now. 61-55. We got 3:08 to go. Price goes in, trying to steal it away from Lufer. She shoots a 3, finally misses one. Long rebound goes to Price outside the 3-point line. So Aggies bringing it back. Lufer got good defense on that 3. 20 seconds on the shot clock. Price passes over to Olivia West on the left wing. West has a screen from Duffy, uses it, has the ball poked, but keeps control of it. 10 on the shot clock. Olivia passes it back to Price. Price steps up, 3-point line, stops and shoots. 3. Oh, what a shot, Victoria Price. Aggies back within 3. Victoria Price, 2 of 2 from downtown tonight. Not the strongest 3-point shooter on the team by any means. Came into this just 15% from the 3-point line, but 2 of 2, none bigger than that one. Foul called on Utah State back the other way in transition. That's going to go against Victoria Price, so she knocks down the big 3, and then picks up a foul, which will send Boise State to the free throw line. Team foul number 3. Shaylin Shaw heading for a couple of shots. Luckily for Utah State, Shaw not the strongest free throw shooter, 58%. Shaw 2 of 2 from the line tonight, though. Looks like Boise State trying to make some substitutions. Officials come over to the scorer's table. Not sure what to discuss, but oh, looks like they're going to change it. Say it was off. Say it was on the floor. So rather than free throws, inbound coming from the baseline. So break there for Utah State. Inbound, we got 2:14 to go. Here's Ermita, pass over to Shaw. Shaw on the left wing, guarded by Mason. Gonna step back. Shaw brings it over to the left wing. Mason, tight defense. Pass up top. Here's Lufer. 10 on the shot clock. Lufer wants the isolation. Gets a screen from Olivia, and that's a foul called on the screen. Big call. Shaylin Shaw fouls out. So the Boise State senior heading to the bench, disqualified after 5 fouls, and that's a turnover for the Broncos with a 3-point lead. So Utah State, what a change there of momentum. You have the star and the ball in the Star's hands, looking to drive, and a screen there turns it over. Aggies can bring it back within a point or tie it up with a shot here. 61-58, 1:47 to go. We're coming down to the wire here in Boise. Brewster works off a screen, shoots from just inside the 3-point line. Shot no good, but the offensive board by Duffy, who turns around, puts it up. Shannon Duffy brings the Aggies back to within 1. Offensive board and the putback, and Boise State wants a timeout. Aggies on a bit of a run. They've made 4 of their last 5, and so Shannon Duffy, 13 points, 7 rebounds, 6 of 9 from the field, and a couple of assists. And Utah State, this one's going to come right down to the finish. 61-60. There are 1:31 left on the clock. Aggies need a big defensive stop here. Boise State has 20 turnovers. If they could force another one or another couple here in this game, that might be all it takes for the Aggies. Just a 30-second timeout, so team's already heading back out to the court. Leading scorer for the Broncos so far, Lupfer with 24, Ermita with 14. For Utah State, it's Duffy with 13, Price with 12, though Price is now fouled out. She's on the bench for the rest of this game. And Olivia West with 11. Inbound for the Broncos from the front court. Turning around is Ermita. Ermita gets double teamed. Aggies try to poke it away, but Ermita holds on to it. Liza guarding her. Switched, so Mason gets her, then spins around, gets up towards the paint. She passes over. Left side, here's Warner. Warner kicks it out. Up top, three. Oh, what a shot. Marta Ermita knocks it down. That's a big one. Utah State needs a quick bucket now. I mean, this thing's far from over, but what a shot. Marta Ermita now 17 points, 2 of 4 from deep. Here's Olivia West, right wing. Pass up to the free throw line for Mason. Mason back out up top to Eliza, then over to left wing for Brewster. Eliza has it, 14 on the shot clock. Drives in, kicks it out, right wing. West pump fakes, gets up just inside, shoots, no good. Rebound by Ermita. Utah State needs to foul. They do so. However, I believe they still need one more before it sends them to the free throw line. So, yep, going to be a Boise State inbound. Utah State needs to foul, though. Utah State trailing 64-60. 37.6 on the clock. I mean, there's still certainly time if they can get a quick foul, a missed free throw or two, and then a quick bucket. Inbound into the backcourt for Lupfer. Inbounds back to Ermita. They need a foul. Aggie's going to wait. Instead, they come back with the double team and then foul Ermita. I think that's going to be Eliza with it. Now they're going to say Olivia picked it up. 2 players there guarding her, but Olivia going to send Marta Ermita to the line. Ermita 3 of 3 from the free throw stripe tonight. Again, just a 69% shooter this season. Really surprised we didn't see it go into Lupfer, who was shooting over 90%. But Broncos not going to put a player on the block trying to rebound. Instead, leave it open for Utah State as Ermita knocks down the first. Broncos up by 5. Second shot up and good. Ermita now with 19 points. Utah State calls a timeout, trailing by 6 with 31 seconds to go. We've had a lot of dramatic Utah State games this season. I mean, a quick 3 here. If you can, I mean, the biggest thing is you can't take too much time on this possession. It's not over, but it is if you probably hold the ball for 10, 15 seconds before you get a shot off. Even if you make it, you really need a quick 3 here if you're Utah State. I imagine we're going to see the ball. I don't know, because typically I'd say they probably get it into Olivia. She's just 4 of 12 tonight, though. 0 of 4 from deep. The team really not shooting well from downtown. I mean, overall, just 3 of 11 from deep. So I don't know who you go to. Maybe I would say Victoria Price, who's 2 of 2, but she's on the bench, fouled out. So the only player in the game who's made a 3-pointer this entire game, Shannon Duffy, who's 1 of 1. So we'll see where they go. But teams in the huddle, getting ready. Utah State, I mean, impressive job to really even hang in here with this team, a team that blew them out so badly in Logan, a team that made them just look horrible in that game, and a team that was picked to win the Mountain West Conference. And you're able to come up into their building and hold on tight with them. I mean, I'm not calling it over, but regardless of the result, this has been a pretty nice effort from Utah State, and one that I think, win or lose, I think will give them quite a bit of confidence moving forward. So 31 seconds is what's on the clock. Duffy's going to inbound. She inbounds way into the backcourt for Brewster. Brewster brings it across, but traveled. So that's the ball game right there. Rachel Brewster got it in the backcourt, walked before she dribbled. So that's a turnover, and that's essentially the game. Inbound for Boise State into the backcourt. They're going to get it back to Lupfer. Lupfer brings it up into the front. Still not fouled. Utah State don't know if they're trying to foul or not, but they're certainly not doing a good job of it. And then finally, Deja Mason picks one up as she fouls. Ermita Mason going to foul out, so she'll hit the bench with number 5. And Marta Ermita heading back to the free throw line where she is 5 of 5 tonight. Bassett checks in to take the vacated spot by Deja Mason. 19.9 on the clock, 66-60, the Broncos lead. First shot, good from Ermita. So now 19 points, she can make that, I'm sorry, now 20 points, make that 21 as she hits the second. And a 7 of 7 free throw night for Marta Ermita. Big time junior for the Broncos. Olivia has it in the front court. Passes over, finds Duffy, then back over to the right wing for Olivia. She's not even going to try and shoot, instead drive, try to pass, and that's a turnover by Utah State. She got up the free throw line, or up the baseline, and then just threw it away. I know that Utah State really couldn't. I mean, the game's probably out of reach regardless of whether they score there or not, but I'd like to have seen them come up with a little bit of a better final play than that. So Boise State inbounds, that sounds the buzzer, and the game is over. Boise State going to win 68-60 here in Boise. Really a solid effort by the Aggies. I mean, not a ton of negative you could say about Utah State's performance tonight. They really, I mean, it was a solid game for Utah State aside from just a few lapses here and there. But again, just really at the end, couldn't capitalize, couldn't keep the foot on the pedal and keep doing what they had been doing so well for so long. So that is how things are going to wind up. May or may not have an interview here with the coach, but let's go ahead and look over some final stats before that, what that is to happen. Utah State shot 40% from the field, much better than what we've seen the last few games for the Aggies. Again, I mean, taking a look at just the recent history for Utah State against, I read this at the beginning of the game, but against Wyoming, 46 points, against New Mexico, 47 points, against Air Force, 50 points, against Wyoming, 42, I'm sorry, 44, against Boise State, 42. So that's just a streak of really low-scoring games. They're glad, I'm sure, very happy to see a 6 in front of their score right now with 60 points. So a much better offensive effort. They scored at a pretty good rate, 40%. They allowed Boise State to shoot 43%. This is a Boise State team, again, that is just a very high scoring. They average over 70 per game. They scored 112 in a game earlier this season, so the defense was clicking. It did its job. Certainly, I mean, the thing is, you play a team like this and you have to have a near-perfect night. They were near-perfect on defense, but offensively, you know, maybe could have done a few things better, including turning the ball over less than 16 times. So 20 turnovers for the Broncos, 16 for Utah State. That's probably the biggest one they're going to circle, I'd imagine. Rebounding started out really one-sided for Boise State, but the Aggies actually cleaned it up significantly, and it winds up as a 35-29 advantage for the Broncos. Utah State very even in the paint, 28-26 in the paint. Utah State led, and then fast break points. That's maybe one of the bigger differences, 9-2 for the Broncos. But Utah State came up with 9 steals, 4 blocks. I mean, just a good, if nothing else, you know, let's take stats out of this. Let's take the final score out of this. Utah State played with much more energy, much more aggression than we've seen in the past few games. I mean, and it's just truly not even close. The last few games, this looked like a team that was dead in the water, a team that just didn't have a chance at any point. I mean, even against Wyoming, the first half they looked good, but I think that was more about Wyoming not playing well. Boise State played well tonight. Aside from all the turnovers, they really played pretty well, and the Aggies held with them toe-to-toe till the final buzzer. Utah State, I mean, in fact, led for 16 minutes of the game. Boise State for 17.5. But a lot of positives to take out of this. If you're a Utah State fan, you probably weren't expecting to go to Boise, the preseason favorites, and win regardless. I mean, even if you're having a good season, that's a very tough thing to do. But, you know, it's tough. The result is a loss, and that's really all that matters. But if you go to the locker room right now, I'm sure that there's a lot of good things being said to this Utah State team. There's no moral victories, but you've got to take the positives. You've got to move forward. And I think the defense was on point, and the offense looked much better than it has. So that's reason for hope if you're an Aggie fan. Final stats as we take a look at some of these numbers. Riley Lufer with 24 points for Boise State. I mentioned a few times, I'm so impressed by this young player. She's just a sophomore. She averaged 16.3 points per game throughout the season, but 20 points per game in Mountain West play. That's going to raise even more, 24 tonight. 7 of 16 from the field for Lupfer. Ermita also 21 points, 6 of 11 from the field. A lot of free throws, 7 of 8 from the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. She's an all-around, just phenomenal player. Here's the thing about Boise State. This team is not going to lose much this offseason. I mean, Shaylin Shaw, I shouldn't say that. It sounds almost disrespectful because Shaylin Shaw is a fantastic player. Don't get me wrong there. One of the best forwards in the Mountain West Conference over the last 4 years. One of the greatest players in Boise State history. But you lose Shaylin Shaw. You lose a center in Brooke Wheeler who really doesn't play much, and she's been injured for the last 7 games as well. So, I mean, that's it, though. If you're Boise State, you lose those 2 players. You bring back the rest of your starting lineup. You bring back Riley Lupfer, 1 year older and wiser, maybe the player of the year next season. I don't know. I mean, she'll certainly be in the running for it. You bring back Ermita, who's phenomenal. She'll be a senior. So this Boise State team is going to be a force for a while. And if you're Utah State, it's good to know that you can hang with them. You got a really young team as well. And it's good to know going into next season and maybe into the tournament this season. You know, these 2 teams could see each other in March. Think about what this game would do for Utah State's confidence if, say, they're a 7 or 8 seed going up to play a 3 or 4 seed Boise State in the tournament, knowing that they can hang with them in a place like Boise. For the Aggies, leading scorer was Victoria Price, was Shannon Duffasey with 13, 7 rebounds as well and a couple of assists. Behind her, Victoria Price, who fouled out after 33 minutes of play. She had 12 points, 4 rebounds. And then behind those 2 players, Olivia West with 11, Bassett with 7, Brewster with 6, Eliza West with 9, and Deja Mason with 2. We're going to go ahead and sign out from here in Boise. Thanks for tuning in to Utah State Women's Hoops, as always, here on Aggie Radio. We'll have every game the rest of the season. We'll be down at the conference tournament, so you can catch it all on Aggie Radio. Tune in tonight for the Utah State men's basketball game as they take on Boise State. What a game that should be. That's in the Spectrum, a very good Boise State team that the Aggies hung with up here in Boise just a couple of weeks ago. Lost that game by just a few points, so it should be a competitive one. That's going to start at 7 o'clock, tip-off at 7. But pregame with Scott Gerard at 6 o'clock p.m. You can catch that all here on Aggie Radio. Utah State women going to be back at it this coming Wednesday, where they take on New Mexico. Very tough challenge there. New Mexico team that has just proven to be a force. That'll be Wednesday night, 7 o'clock p.m. in the Spectrum. And then next week they'll be on the road at Nevada. That's next Saturday at 3. Thanks for tuning in to Utah State Women's Hoops here on Aggie Radio. I'm Jaden Johnson, signing out from Boise, Idaho, where the final score is 68-60 Broncos. Have a good night, and as always, go Aggies.